Hello out there. It's Marnie Homer here from Copywriters International, and I am known as the Queen of Content Creation. But today, the spotlight is actually on the gorgeous Nicole Yeates. Hi, Nicole. How are you?
Hi, Marnie. I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm really good. Thank you for asking. So, Nicole, tell us a little bit about what it is that you do. What makes you a legend in your own lunchbox?
Well, after going from a vegetative state to where I am today, I now work as a rehabilitation counsellor, as a brain health educator. I'm a best-selling author, and basically my role is, well, I have two roles. I help people back to work who have had workplace injuries, and my other role is as a brain health educator, assisting people who have had brain injury to basically reach their highest potential.
Great. Okay. All right. That's quite a lot. So let's talk about this vegetative state, which comes up quite a lot for you. Tell us about your journey. Tell us what happened.
Look, I was 16 years old and I bought a motorcycle. I was living in New Zealand at the time, and back then in New Zealand, you could get your license at 15 years of age. As crazy as that is, they've changed it to 18, same as us now here in Australia. But so I bought my motorbike and I was traveling to a basketball game with my girlfriends, and I was driving my motorcycle. It was a cold, rainy night, winter in New Zealand. And I was collected by a car as I was going through a roundabout. As I approached the roundabout, the lights on my motorcycle went out. And my plan was to get to the other side of the roundabout, figure out what was wrong and keep going to basketball. But I never got to the other side of the roundabout because I was hit by a car. It was hit and run. He left me on the road for dead. I actually died on the road. I got entangled in my bike, and my motorbike got entangled on his bumper bar. So he dragged me along the road for a couple of 100 meters and dragged the motorbike for over 1,000, sparks flying. It caught fire in the end, apparently. I was basically left for dead on the road, got taken to hospital, died another couple of times in hospital, and lapsed into a deep coma. They thought I was brain dead at one point, and they asked Mum to sign organ donation forms, told her expect death or life in a vegetative stage. That was my prognosis.
Wow. Wow, that must have been really difficult. I know that you weren't aware of what was going on for most of that, but finding out afterwards would have been tough. But even the accident, to know that person just drove away.
Yeah,
must have been heartbreaking.
It was, and apparently never called the hospital to even see how I was. Nothing. I mean, when the motorbike eventually came off his car, it also took the license plate with it. So that's how the police caught the man. So the next day they caught him. And back in that day too, they were actually trialing a new thing in the legal system over there, where they were getting the victims and the criminals to meet each other. So it was quite a new process back at that time. So I did actually get to meet him. We went to his church. My mother and I went to his church and met him. It was a weird situation. He was a very, very quiet, not a very confident person. He basically said that the reason he left is because in his country, he was from Samoa, if they hit someone and stopped, they'd be beaten up or killed, that sort of tribal type of mentality. But he'd been living in New Zealand for a number of years, so I didn't really take that as any particular excuse.
That's really awful. It really is. It must have been really tough for you to have to meet him like that and listen to that.
It was confronting initially. I think it was a good thing in the end, because it helped me understand a little bit more about the type of person he was and why he would do something like that. I mean, not for the excuse given, but because he was the nice, the not so nice way. I would say a weak person. And yeah, so it helped me understand that.
Yes, unfortunately, it often seems to be the case that hurt people, and we may not always get the explanations that we want, but yeah. So here you are. You've died a couple of times on the table. You're in a deep, deep coma. Do you remember anything from that time at all, like in the coma, or?
Look, my last memory is the lights going out. I remember dying on the road because I saw my father, who died when I was 3. I don't remember anything else consciously other than dying again when I was in hospital. I had a near-death experience which was very vivid, and I go into detail in it in my book.
Yes.
And then really that kind of 2 years before and 2 years after my accident are really hazy with amnesia. But there is evidence that I did hear when I was in the coma.
Right.
Because my dear mother tried everything to bring me out of that coma. She played the music that she hated and I loved, like Violent Femmes. She bribed me to try and come out of this coma. So she promised me that if I woke up, she would buy me a puppy. And one of my first communications, I couldn't talk for a while. I could write very, scribbly kind of 3-year-old writing, but that was a way of communicating. I could move one hand eventually. I first was able to move one hand. I wasn't able to. I woke up unable to walk, unable to talk, unable to control any of my bodily functions. My brain was so battered it couldn't even control its own temperature. But yeah, so when I was writing, one of my first communications was, "Where's my puppy?"
Oh, awesome. Fantastic. That's amazing. Did you get your puppy?
I did, yes.
Oh, good. That's good. I was blessed to meet your mother the other week, and she's an absolutely beautiful soul. So, I mean, I can just imagine the effort that she put in there. So that wasn't your first, okay, so you had all this stuff happen to you, unexpectedly, but that was just the start of the journey, wasn't it? I mean, you've told me stories about some of the prognoses you were given. Would you share some of those with us?
Yeah, look, I've got a report from a neuropsychologist that basically states if I ever did manage to get into some sort of work, it would need to be work that was in a highly structured environment with supervision, and the tasks would be unlikely to be meaningful. So a sheltered workshop, in other words.
Yeah, pretty much.
And even though I walked out of the hospital a few months later, aided, but on 2 feet all the same, they still had very low hopes for my future. They didn't expect me to finish high school. And look, I finished high school. I didn't do very well after the accident, but I finished. And then I went on to study beauty therapy. And it wasn't long. It was a couple of years into beauty therapy, working as a beauty therapist. So I was managing other people's salons. And then I decided that, after doing all that, studying beauty therapy, I did an associate diploma of business management and running other people's salons. I sort of began to think around age 27, maybe those doctors are wrong. Maybe I could go to uni and maybe I could do something. So I procrastinated on that for another year or two and did a few more things to prove that I could.
Yes.
And then I ended up going to uni at age 33, doing my Bachelor of Human Services with a major in rehabilitation counselling. And I've been working in the occupational rehab industry ever since, mostly in management roles, and now I'm basically with my own business.
Wow, there you go. That's pretty amazing, isn't it? I mean, like you've managed to achieve so much, considering and I think all of us have experienced this in our lives, but the naysayers and the negativity. I mean, in your case, it was obviously quite advanced to be able to say things
the doctors were going on anatomy and physiology and looking at the anatomy of my brain and the damage to my brain. I had diffuse brain damage, mainly to the brain stem, which controls all your autonomic functions. So, they were going on what they knew, the science. They didn't take into account the personality, the support systems, the culture, all of those other aspects. And all of those other aspects are really important.
Exactly. It's what makes us who we are. It makes us out human beings, I think. That actual that will to live, that will to get back up again, that will to keep fighting and heading in the right direction. Do you know what I mean?
Even from the most basic stuff, like when they were going to sort of give, because there was just mum was a single mother, raised me as a single mother, and so of course taking her disabled child home was going to be a massive adjustment for her. So they wanted me to go home just on a trial period to start off with. But in order to pass the tests that the doctors had, I had to do a few things. I had to be able to walk up and down 2 or 3 stairs. Now, keep in mind, I was only just beginning to walk at this stage. My balance was still pretty bad, so I needed support when I did walk. I needed to be able to go to the toilet independently, and I needed to be able to stand with my eyes closed and be pushed and not fall over.
Okay, right, yeah.
So Mum and I practiced these things together at night when the nurses weren't around, and I remember the neurosurgeon. I do remember this really vividly because my mind was like concrete. He was not going to push me over. There was no way. So when the neurosurgeon came in to do the push test, I stood there with this determined look on my face, arms crossed. My stance said it all. You're not budging me, buddy.
And he didn't, right?
And he did the push. I didn't move.
Beautiful.
So I got to go home for the weekend on the trial. And
beautiful.
That was the first step of getting out of the hospital.
Yeah, I can imagine that was so triumphant for you, that first step, that first, that first barrier cracked, really, isn't it? Looking at
That's it.
Yeah.
And that was really, I had no idea, really. When I was in the hospital, I guess I was kind of protected in a bubble of rehab and so forth, but it wasn't until I got out of hospital that the really hard work started. And that the hard realities started to sink in. The fact that, my 16-year-old friends weren't interested in hanging out with me anymore. I was a person with a disability. I wasn't cool.
Yeah, that's
I was also really socially inappropriate and would say whatever came to my head. Could be really embarrassing. So, I had to learn all of those social cues. I had to learn my way around the city I grew up in. I looked at my wardrobe and said, who are those clothes? Whose are those? I didn't recognize anything. So it was a really big knock back to reality that I was going to have to create a new normal.
Yeah. Wow, that's just have so much to have gone through at such a young age and to have to relearn everything. So, Nicole, tell us a little bit more. Tell us, you've been to uni, you've done that, you've now, you've been, helping other people rehabilitate themselves. Tell us more about that.
So I began my career in occupational rehabilitation in 2005. And so I've been working in that industry primarily. So anyone who's had workplace accidents, whether it be physical or psychological, I'm kind of the in-between person, the person who communicates with the doctors and the treating practitioners and the clients and the employers and try to get a plan together to get that person back to work. Sometimes they can't go back to the job they've got or they had before the accident because of their injury barriers. And then I do vocational counselling, vocational assessments to determine a suitable career path in the future and help them navigate their way into that sort of work. Then about, it was about February, March last year, I decided to actually document my story with my severe traumatic brain injury and my recovery through my book, Holding On to Hope, Finding the New You After a Traumatic Brain Injury. And I guess I was motivated to start writing that because my mother had been diagnosed with a terminal illness. And I knew that if I had any chance of writing the whole story of this book, I needed her to do it because of my amnesia. You know, I slept for 3 weeks in a deep coma. I don't know what happened in that period and that sort of thing. So I began writing it, and as I was writing it, I also found I reached out to other people through Facebook with people who had traumatic brain injury or any sort of brain injury in the Facebook groups, and found some really common themes like short-term memory issues. And short-term memory issues are still things today that I struggle with. And I've just developed barrier-cracking strategies to manage those memory issues through being incredibly organised. I have systems and tools in place to make sure that I can live the productive, effective life that I do. And but there's not a lot of sort of things out there for people with brain injury as far as those tools and strategies that are general that can fit everyone. So I decided to create a memory management app.
Talk to us about that.
Rethink was born. So Rethink is the memory management app. You can see it's spelt Rethink. The 2 I's are reflective of the I from rethink, because after a brain injury you need to rethink everything. And the I from tinker, because again, after a brain injury you need to tinker, modify, improve to adjust to your new you. So the app is live on the App Store and Google Play. It's free. Basically, it helps people remember tasks and appointments. It's got automatic memory reminders in there. So you input your appointment. When you turn your phone on at the beginning of the day, you get a summary of the day ahead. An hour before the appointment or task, you get a reminder, and 15 minutes before you get a reminder as well. There's brain training games. There's a blog with heaps of tools, resources, and tips to manage brain injury or cognitive issues, generally memory issues, concentration issues, neural fatigue. And the thing that's really unique about the Rethink app is that you get a buddy system on it. So if you're a person who relies on a carer or support worker, you can invite them into the app, and basically you can invite them into your appointments. Like if you've got a medical appointment, you basically that's the screen there. So if I were to make an appointment, I'll just go doc. You go the date, get the time in there. That's it. And then you can see add buddies. So if I've got a support worker or family member or someone who's taking me to appointments, I just click on add buddies, add them to the appointment, and then both of you will see it in your app calendar. It automatically gets populated into your Google Calendar, so you know your risks of forgetting are muchly reduced.
Yes, I think everybody needs that. Even people that have no brain issues. Do you know what I mean? We all need it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've got friends who are using it that haven't had a brain injury, but they may be suffering from depression, or they may be on medication that impacts on their cognitive abilities, and they're finding it fantastic. So
who else can benefit from that, Nicole?
Anybody who forgets appointments, forgets to pay their bills, forgets to turn up to meet friends, to anyone with any sort of memory issue. That can be, brain injury can happen from drug and alcohol abuse, from accidents, from strokes, from loss of oxygen, so many ways to get brain damage. But you may also just be someone who's taking medications that impact on your memory and concentration, and you're really struggling with those organizational kind of aspects of your life. So it can be anyone that needs some help to remember things, basically.
Okay, awesome. So if any of you out there are having any memory issues, then make sure you download Nicoles Rethink app. We'll put the details down below for you. You can find that, because, you know, the goal, what's the goal with that, Nicole? What's the goal?
The goal of that is to increase independence and lessen frustration.
Absolutely, absolutely. So if you're feeling frustrated because you forget things, I mean, we all do. I think I'll be downloading it, Nicole, to be honest. You know, I mean, especially when you get busy and you know, a busy life, you know, it's easy to forget things. You can double book yourself. Well, that's going to help you big time to be able to stop all of that kind of thing, and, you know, help you to remember what it is you've got happening in your life as well.
And you can set goals as well. Like, there's 10 levels in the app that you can basically challenge yourself and work up the levels to see, I'm on level 5 at the moment, but you've got level 1 to 10. Level 1's the rookie.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And everything you do in the app, you get points for. So you make an appointment, you get points. When you complete a task, you get points. When you read the blog articles, you get points. When you do the brain training games, there's 2 brain training games, a memory grid and a solution drawer, which one's memory, one's sort of problem solving, spatial awareness, which people can struggle with as well. So really helping to work the brain muscles.
Awesome. Yeah. So it sounds like a really, really good app for, like, you know, for so much. There's so much there. So, Nicole, before we get into how people can get hold of you, tell me what's happening. What's the plan for the future? Like, where does Nicole Yeates go from here?
Right. Okay. Well, you know, at the moment, I'm, you know, I've got the book and the app that are, you know, making traction now. There's a couple of hundred people using the app already. And the next stage is going to be, I'm in the process of developing a Change Your Brain, Transform Your Life program, a 12-week program, which will be online. Okay, so keep an eye out for that. I've got a memory management course that's already online through Teachable. And there'll be more courses coming out in the future that I'll be running. Also workshops. I've started doing workshops with people, you know, on short-term memory management, on injury management, just, you know, basically getting to your highest potential, and tools, strategies and resources to do that.
Awesome. Amazing. Brilliant. Okay. All right, Nicole. Sounds like you have come so far, and congratulations on everything that you've achieved. I can't wait to see what you create next, see what comes next for you. So, yeah. So, Nicole, tell us more about how can we get in touch with you? If somebody wants to reach out to you, how do they do that?
Yeah, sure. You can go to my website, www.holdingontohope.com.au. So you'll find out all of the different things that I'm offering in that space. You can also download the Rethink app through my website. It's got its own page. You can contact me through Facebook in Holding On to Hope, or you can email me, Nicole@holdingontohope.com.au. You can phone me, 0466 123 370.
See, she knows it all. She even remembers her phone number. Look at that. It's clever. Or you can contact Nicole on LinkedIn, as the little banner on the bottom says.
Absolutely, on LinkedIn. Yes, there's so many forms of social media.
I know it is. It's like, you know, I focus on LinkedIn, obviously. I love LinkedIn. It's king. But there is so many different places. So there you go. That's how you can get hold of the amazing Nicole Yeates. And for a final word, Nicole, what would you say to anybody who is in a situation that might be similar to yours, who might be, you know, challenged with, a brain injury, or anyone that's suffering at the moment, what would your final message be to them?
My final message would be, don't leave it just to medical professionals or treating professionals to tailor your rehab. Basically, it's what you do once you walk outside of that doctor's office, that physio's office, that psychologist's office that actually makes a huge difference too. You've got to, as well as following the advice of the medical professionals, it's really important to take ownership of your recovery, and just one step at a time. Just small steps are the building blocks of success. So don't be scared to try.
Awesome. Fantastic advice there. Absolutely. Never give up, right?
Yes, never give up.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's just do it. Exactly right. Nicole, it's been such a pleasure to have you today. Thank you so much for taking the time out to be here with us.
My pleasure, Marnie. Thank you for having me. It's been great to chat.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, and we'll see you all again next week. Thank you. Bye.